Hi, welcome to Lesson 2 of ChessFest Academy, where we're going to learn about the most important piece, and actually the easiest one to learn in a way, the king. So, your kings start out on the D file. Hopefully you've already watched Lesson 1 and you know what I mean when I say the D file. If not, go back and review that just to be sure. Now, white pieces go on the first and second ranks. So when I look at the first rank on the D file, the name of this square is D1, and that's where my white king goes. My black king is going to go also on the D file, but since my black piece is going to 7th and 8th rank, my black king goes on D8. So again, your white king is on D1, your black king is on D8. Now I'm going to tell you where to move your king, and you have to figure out how does the king move. So let's start with white, because white starts all chess games. White, move your king to D2. King D2. You got it? Good. Right there. One square forward. Black, would you move your king to C7? So black, move your king to C7. Did you find it? Great. There it is. One square diagonally to the right if you're sitting on the black side. White, move your king to C3. King C3. Look for it. C3. That's where your king goes. White king C3. Now, black. How about king B8? King B8 for black. Find it? Great. There it is. White, would you move your king to B3? King B3. You got it? There it is. B3. And black, king B7. Go ahead, black. Move your king to B7. Got it? Pretty easy, huh? You figuring out how the kings move? That's right. One square in any direction. So the king's usual move is one square in any direction. Not two, not three, just one. But he can go diagonally to the left and right forward, diagonally left and right backwards, forward, backwards, left or right, side to side, frontwards, back, diagonal, one square in any direction. And now let's have the white king move to B4. Just hopping one square ahead. Black, go ahead and move your king as well to B6. One square ahead for black. King B6. Now here's something very important. It is white's move. If you look around the white king, how many squares could he normally move to? If you count all the squares that are right around the white king, how many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 squares around him. However, because this king is here, he cannot move to 3 of them. Let me explain why. In chess, one thing you will never say is, I took his king, or I captured the king. You never capture the king. You never take it. If you're in a situation where you could capture a king, that means someone made an illegal move and you have to figure it out and fix it. You never, ever, 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 never in thousands of years of chess has anyone ever captured a king. It does not happen. That's not how the game is played, and that's not how the game finishes. We'll get to checkmate later on. That's how a game actually finishes. So you do not capture the king. But that means you can't even put the king in a position where he could be captured. I'll say that again. You can't even put the king in a position where he could be captured, because that means on the next move he would be captured. And you can't do that. And of course it makes sense. The king is the most important piece in the game. He's not the most powerful, but he is the most important. He's how a game is finished. And if you think about it, in a royal court, the king is most important. And originally in chess, the king was the general. And if you ever play Chinese chess, you'll see that the king is still called the general. And of course, in a battle, in the war field, the general is the most important person. So this white king, it's white's turn. We see these three squares. If he were to move to any of these squares here, and that's A5, or B5, or C5, if he were to move to any of those three squares, he could be captured by the black king, which means you cannot move to any of those squares. So of the 8 squares around him, 3 of them are off limits. If you were to actually do that, let's say white goes ahead and he says, King A5. If you're playing black, you do this. Go ahead, do it with me. You shake your head, can't do that. That's an illegal move. You need to move back and do something else. And let's say the person playing white is not really getting it. So he moves back and says, oh, okay, I'll do this instead. I'll move King B5. What would the player playing black say? Can't do that. That's an illegal move. You need to move back and do something else. So you see the kings cannot be under attack. You can't put your own king in check. You can't put your own king in attack. And then white moves back and says, okay, well, let me try this. How about King C5? If you're playing black, what are you doing right now? That's right, you're saying, can't do that. That's an illegal move. You can't put yourself in check. You can't put your own king under attack. You need to move back and do something else. What you wouldn't do if you were playing black is say, ha, I took your king. Again, the king is never captured in chess. So white, if he's looking at the 8 squares around him, these 3 are off limits, A5, B5, and C5. But he still has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares that are totally legal moves. So let's have him move back to A3. King A3. Go ahead and move your white king to A3. Great. And black, you want to chase him down. So why don't you do King B5. Now look at that. We just did King B5 for black. Is that a legal move? Is that okay? Yes, it is. That's right, because they're not right next to each other, because they move 1 square, so there's no attack here. He did not put himself under attack. That's a legal move. It's okie dokie. So white, let's say you want to move to A2. King A2. Move him on back. King A2 for white. I hope you're following the touch rule, by the way, and that you only touch a piece, we talked about this in lesson 1, when you're actually moving it. And one thing you absolutely smurfly never do is touch your opponent's piece and move it for him. So like when I just said white moved King A2, if black went and moved it for him, that's a no-no. You let your players move their own pieces. So he just moved back to A2. And then the hand is off. You notice I do that. After I move, the hand is off. If you leave your hand lingering on it, it looks like you're not done yet. And by tournament rules, you wouldn't be. So you need to take that hand off when you're done with the move and just put it aside. Black, go ahead and move your king now to B4. Black, King B4. White, go ahead and move your king back 1 more square to A1. Yeah, this isn't a good idea, but you put yourself all the way in the corner there. Black, move your king to B3. Okay, it's quiz time. This is a little tricky. White, it's your move. How many squares could you normally, if there was no one else on the board, how many squares could you normally move to right now from the corner? You see them? Moving 1 square in any direction. 1, 2, 3 squares around him, right? B1, B2, and A2. But because of black's king being here, that black king is actually attacking all the squares around him, right? Because he can move 1 square in any direction. So what squares can the white king not move to? That would be an illegal move. You'd have to take it back and do something else. That's right, he can't move to A2. He can't move to B2. Both of those are under attack from the black king. You can't put yourself in check. You can't put your own king under attack. If you did that, if white did that, what would black say? Can't do that. It's an illegal move. You need to move it back and do something else. So the one square that white can move to is B1. So right now, white has one legal move. Remember, a king out in the middle of the board, say, has 8 squares around him that he can move to. 8. So you see why it might not be a good idea in this situation to have your king in the corner. He only has one legal move. Now normally you'd have other pieces on the board. You'd never be playing a game with just kings. And we'll get to that later. So white, move your king to B1. That's your only choice. You have no other legal move. Now, let's see if you remember. Can you put your kings back to where they start from? It was on the D file. Very good. And white goes on D1 and black on D8. Now what I'd like you to do is to take turns. White goes first. Make sure you're making nice clean moves. I want you to just take turns moving your kings, going back and forth, taking turns, and make sure you don't make an illegal move. And if your opponent does make an illegal move, what do? Do you say, aha, I took your king? No, of course not. Someone makes an illegal move, you say, can't do that. Need to move that king back and do something else. So go ahead and get your kings on their starting squares. White move first and then black, and try not to make any illegal moves. So your king can move one square in any direction, and watch out for those illegal moves. Go ahead and give it a try and do it over and over again until you can do it perfectly. I'm going to do it by myself.